And this hangout on air is live. PodClear is going. I just want to see if it is. I would like to see it appear.
Hey, chat.
Hello, chat room. Hello, everybody. If you're seeing this,
later.
Welcome to A3K Live. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to take a second to make sure the YouTube delay. Wow, that is a really long delay. That felt like 40 seconds before the video started on my end. But I would say that will take care of that. And I think I'm just about ready.
Are you ready, Mr. Krabs?
Mr. Russell, you have your cutoff point. A3K Live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, welcome to the A3K podcast, powered by the fine folks at anime3000.com, where the future of anime and manga will be broadcasted, podcasted, and all other kinds of casted, because we have a wonderful cast of characters. My name is David Majors. I am the host of this show every Saturday evening at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. My co-host, the incomparable Jack D. Alistair Cookie IV. What's going on, Jay Quellen?
Yada yada does it. I told you not to tell anyone I was the fourth cookie. That's a secret. God damn it, they haven't gotten that far in the manga yet. Now the cookie lineage has been shamed, and I am disappointed. David. But other than that, I'm doing well, thanks.
No one is ever disappointed in cookies. It's very hard to mess up cookies. It's like pizza, or things that I'm not going to talk about on this podcast because this is probably slightly family friendly.
Well, David, what about cookies with raisins in them?
Oh, everyone is always disappointed with that. Always. It's like putting... Yeah?
Actually, Colton, from the Manga Corner, thanks for joining us, by the way.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and say, when it comes to cookies with raisins with them, I will say oatmeal is okay. Just don't get cute with any other kind of cookies. If you're going to put raisins in cookies, just stick with the oatmeal.
And now you all know not to trust David's opinion on cookies.
Only that exception. They're better without the oatmeal, of course.
Yes, I agree.
Our guest this evening, who I
Yes.
absolutely intend to get his take on the great cookie debate, he's the host of the Anime Now podcast, Mr. Bradley Meek. Bradley, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into all the anime stuff, raisins and cookies, where do you stand, sir?
I'm actually pro raisins in general. I really like raisins by themselves with a glass of milk before bed, for instance, and I think they do well in most desserts. The problem with raisin oatmeal cookies is not the raisins, it's the oatmeal.
Ooh, controversial statement. I like it. Join the conversation, guys. Go into the chat room at A3K TV on YouTube, or if you're on social media, use that old hashtag A3K Live and tell us where you stand.
Oh man, I like
Oatmeal or
lumpy,
raisins?
tasteless things. I love lumpy, tasteless things that have a hint of cinnamon to make me not breathe properly down my windpipe.
Oh yeah, me too. I agree.
I love the awfulness, and chocolate chip cookies. Whatever. I don't like good things.
Okay, so we are scratching the A3K Cinnamon Challenge from next week's episode. Sean?
No, we're not doing that.
Mr. Russell, if you're catching this, we're scratching the Cinnamon Challenge. No on the Cinnamon Challenge. That is a no. So I guess we're just going to talk about the animus from there. So, by the way, one more time, if you're out there, please use the hashtag A3KLive. Send us an email. Do it long form style. Contact at anime3000.com. Send us something to read with paragraphs, and I will read that live on the internet and give you some FaceTime so you can send to your friends and share on your face space.
Man, that Jack is so beautiful. Damn.
Ah, she's
That's what
ravishing.
90% of those are. That's what
Ravishing.
90% of the ones we've already received are. Also, when's Cody?
When's
That's
Cody?
the other one.
Or I'm tired of having that Colton guy on. Or
And also,
I tried, Colton.
fuck
tried.
oatmeal cookies. That's the third most popular one is fuck oatmeal.
Oh, Jack, never change.
There's your episode name is fuck oatmeal.
This is
There
why
you
you're my
go.
co-host, Jack. I just
Yes.
want you to know.
Oh yes.
Guys, there's a problem.
Yes.
Apparently,
no.
anime is gonna die in a few years.
Oh no.
Oh my good golly gosh, what a terrible travesty that would become.
So saith Hideaki Anno, creator of a show called Neon Genesis Evangelion. He thinks that the Japanese anime industry's days are numbered. In an interview with the Russian news agency RIA Novosti, Anno said that the anime industry as we now know it is in decline, and death is unavoidable, and he calls this only a matter of time, and he's saying that it will be in merely 5 years. Bradley, tell me, my first thought was, Anno's off his meds again. I'm pretty sure Anno's off his meds. But do you think the anime industry is that close to death, Bradley?
I'm trying to figure out what he means by death as I'm skimming this Kotaku article. It sounds to me like by death he means something about how anime is currently produced will stop happening, or there will be a dip in that production. I can't make heads or tails of what he's talking about. This is one of those things where Kotaku gives us some clickbait and doesn't really justify the headline that's at the top, and I'm left weirdly unsatisfied and a bit put off by the whole thing and feeling just a little dirty inside.
Is it the good kind of dirty or the bad kind of dirty?
Not the good kind of dirty. The
Kinda dirty
late-stage
where-
capitalism is kind of fucked up, kind of dirty.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jack and I try and have people leaving with the good kind of dirty on this show, but Anno goes on to say Japan will no longer be the center of world animation. Maybe in 5 years, Taiwan will be such a center. Taiwan? We're talking about Taiwan.
Well, this has been a real topic of discussion for a while. It's not just Japan and America that makes animation, and there's plenty of other countries that could do television animated series like Japan does, and a lot of them happen to be Japan's neighbors. Korea could do it, China could do it. It just hasn't really happened yet. The 2 or 3 times that I've sat down to watch specifically Korean animation, it never really, anything I watched never really felt distinct or distinct in a weird way. I believe I once saw an animated Korean movie about a piece of dog poop, for instance.
Interesting. Tell me more.
And China is deeply invested in CG mostly, it seems, so we don't see much of the 2D cell animation except for like this one studio. So 5 to 20 years, and again, I'm not entirely sure what he means by death. Like, will it stop being popular in the West? I'm not sure about that. If anime died tomorrow, I still don't think it would take 5 to 20 years for it to stop being popular in the West. I get the sense that when I walk into an anime con, most of the people there are still watching series that are about 5 to 10 years old, and to them that is still new anime. That is still what anime now is like. So there's this large lag even in the age of the internet.
Colton, what do you think? Japan, China, Taiwan. I guess what Anno is trying to say is that there is going to be another country that is going to overtake Japan. You have countries like France that has a pretty good animation reputation, the UK, of course the United States. Do you think that there might be another country that might take Japan's place, and do you think really Japan is number one?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, honestly, like Bradley said, I don't really feel like I understand what exactly Ano is trying to say specifically, but then again, I personally don't really take this statement very seriously because, as some of you may know, I'm not exactly a fan of Evangelion, so
You are, Colton. Let me just say this: you are not alone.
You
I
are
know not.
not alone.
Thank you. But yeah, so personally, I don't really take. I can't really take this seriously because I don't feel like that's the case at all. I mean, if he's talking about production, maybe I'm sure that at some point we're going to see a decrease in how many shows we see come out of Japan every year. But honestly, I think that's really about it.
Can I just note that this quote would have had to have been translated from Japanese to Russian to English because this interview was with a Russian fan site.
Exactly. Yeah. Jeez.
So I actually have a tremendous amount of respect for Ano. And while I have mixed feelings for Evangelion, it's a series that I've had a growing respect for over time. It's one of those series that as you grow older, you find new ways to appreciate it. And if you didn't connect with it in your late teens or early 20s, as you start hitting 30, it starts to make a lot more sense once you get more perspective on yourself.
Mm.
Um, Ano has been an obsessive fan well before he was a director and well before he was a kind of celebrity director. When he says something about the industry at large, I think it's worth paying attention to, generally speaking. There is a lot wrong on the production side, at least with anime
Exactly.
right now, in that schedules are very tight, talent is fairly thin. We don't really pay new talent very well. There are all kinds of production issues similar to that where you could definitely say, yes, there's a lot of problems right now in anime production to the point where it leads to death by competition from other countries seems to be a stretch to me right now, but there's no reason not to think why Korea or Japan or Eastern Europe or Western Europe could come up with more and more compelling with its own set of compelling animation projects largely targeted at adults, which I think would, well, not even adults, we'll say teens, let's be honest, that's what most of the anime audience is at this point. Children, man-children, and teens. And that particular audience, like, there's no reason to think why Japan should inherently have a lock on that. And in the abstract, I would welcome a much more vibrant worldwide animation scene because before I'm an anime fan, I'm a fan of animation. So I don't have a problem with the idea of Japan no longer having a monopoly on the wide variety of animated works that kind of distinguishes anime at the moment, right? All the television series that it produces.
And
But there's a but here. So much of anime and so much of what I like about anime and series like cutesy moe series or mecha and so on, they can be so intrinsically Japanese or so of that particular moment in culture that what I would rather see from other countries is just something from their culture and not something that borrows so heavily from Japanese culture that it feels like reappropriation, right? Like it feels like it doesn't really belong to them.
do you think that is an overlying problem because Japanese animation has had such an influence that is starting to spread the idea of so many shows out there being so influenced by what Japan is doing and has done? Do you think that's almost creating a vacuum?
No, I don't. I mean, when I look at American television, I think there's plenty of great American cartoon series that are in some ways inspired by anime, or are in some ways just integrating even people who make anime into the production, like Adventure Time did with Yuasa. Like a lot of animators, I would be surprised if there are any animators under the age of 40 who aren't anime fans as well. But I'm thinking of something more extreme where the concept and the story can feel wholly derivative. And while I don't think we see a lot of that, or at least from what I'm watching in American cartoons right now, I don't see a lot of that. That would be just a small concern that I would have, and that kind of leads to my final point, which would be, in a way, anime is so inherently Japanese that it can't come from any other country. If you want a cutesy moe series, no other country is really ever going to produce that, as far as I can tell.
And that's a shame.
I'm a fan.
But
So,
guys, I do want to say I think all of this is moot because as it has been well documented, so well documented, the anime industry is going to be just fine because Dragon Ball Z is coming back.
Excuse me.
Yes, Jack.
Oh boy.
Because we haven't finished talking about this discussion, I'm very glad that you'd like to move on. I appreciate that. But I think
You're welcome.
I think it needs to be said. Maybe Anno thinks that the anime industry is going to dead because his entire way about going about ending shows kind of deviates towards, okay, we're out of money. Not only that, but you get to the point, okay, I'm being a little facetious, but it happened. Gainax started as a really interesting kind of a studio. But we're seeing the same thing happen to Trigger as what happened to them, so let's not dwell on that, and it's sad descent into madness, but let's instead focus on what you're talking about, the overall quality of animation in the West, animation in the East, animation to the woman that I love best. She's smoking. No. Animation, I was actually just thinking about this today, is that Western animation, for the most part, is starting to not really talk down so much to its viewer. I mean, I just realized to myself, like watching Gravity Falls, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you know what? I'm thinking while I'm watching this, and even though it's a god-awful mess, people are thinking while they watch Adventure Time, because there's so much shit going down.
Exactly.
But that's the thing that's really starting to, I mean, and we hate it, unless you're David, but all the pro-philosophical stuff that happens in like 90% of anime these days, where you get a little monotone, tiny little girl going, and the truth beyond your own existence is the existence of the truth and the existence of your prior self, which is your prior self, and the self is composed of... Okay, I can't...
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
That was pretty great.
Here...
Pretty much on point.
90% of anime. But despite the fact that it is, for most part, a clusterfuck and a headache, it's really good to see that there is a rise in, can we make a point in our art? Can we make a point in our animation? You know,
something that is made for beyond just selling toys. Is that what you're
beyond
getting at?
selling toys, beyond appeal to children. I mean, look at where SpongeBob was. I mean, look at not where it is now, but look at what it started as. It was not geared towards children, and that's like a complete, like, opposite sort of a thing. You could say it really degraded because now it's very much geared towards children. But you had other things, and we have shows now that are kind of taking its place, and we have regular show, which is another type of a show that isn't really geared towards kids, but you get an equal amount of enjoyment from it. And, of course, we're coming from an American perspective, but I could go into Russian animation because that shit is fucking amazing. And it's been amazing since the 80s. In fact, you want to tell, if anime did...
Are you talking about Worker in Parasite?
Am I? Because
I'm asking.
There's also some really amazing, they do some crazy stop motion there, they do some beautiful hand-drawn stuff. It's absolutely incredible. And France, just Europe in general, has really interesting animation programs, students doing amazing things, and people just doing 60-frame animation stuff forever. But please understand, I don't think anime is going to dead. I don't think animation is going to dead because we are getting smarter. And even though we are getting smarter, we are blowing smoke up our ass, but at the very least, we are getting smarter. We are becoming David, and that is not anything to be ashamed of. Bad taste aside.
Well, who is this we?
I don't know if that's not something to be ashamed of.
We would like to play.
Jack, something in the chat room from our general manager, Mr. Russell. Maybe SpongeBob was always geared towards kids, but you grew up and realized it wasn't geared towards children.
Mind blown. Very nicely said, Sean Russell. Although I believe the creator went on record and said, when we started, it was really for adults because it's about work and it's about interpersonal relationships. Like, he said something like that. I used to really follow the SpongeBob scene because that dude is hilarious. Steven Hillenburg is just... And he's not on the storyboards or like doing direction anymore, so you can tell that it sucks now. So
Yep.
let's just take it for a moment and think that one of the funniest guys in America is just not dealing with this anymore. So maybe he kind of wants, maybe he's pulling a Seth MacFarlane and realizing, I'm just gonna pull away from this, and we'll just. I'm sorry. A Curious Scott.
Look, guys, I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to show you that anime is not dead. Okay, it's not.
We've already made this point.
And in fact, we're on the precipice of a boom period.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of us 90s kids, we can't help ourselves. And apparently there are 90s kids in Japan as well. And
Spotting!
Akira Toriyama likes money, and it has been officially announced that Funimation will be producing a theatrical release for Dragon Ball Resurrection F from August 4th to August 12th. Theater locations and times have not yet been announced, but yes, the upcoming Dragon Ball theatrical release is a thing. It's going to happen, and then there's going to be the TV show, Dragon Ball Super. We can all pretend it's 1999 again, and Dragon Ball's back, and yay!
Can we? Because I'm pretty certain that if we could pretend it was 1990 again, My Little Pony would not be a phenomenon whatsoever, because it really kind of wasn't.
Back to high school.
It was just a Happy Meal toy.
I was in high school at that time. I don't want to go back.
I can't unsee.
Let me throw this one around. Bradley, for Resurrection F, do you see yourself cashing in on the hype train and going to see this in theaters when it comes out?
In theaters, no. I live in the Midwest. We never get cool things like anime in theaters over here.
Okay,
same with me.
guys. Maybe it's just because I live in a big city in the Midwest. I live in Detroit. But for the last movie, Battle of the Gods, I was able to see it in a theater. And I live in the Midwest too, technically. So I've heard Colton say this before.
Might be doing something in Kansas City for it, and I don't know. That would probably be the closest city that I could drive to for that kind of thing. I will tell you that I like Dragon Ball Z. I don't like it enough to drive 3 hours to go to a movie theater.
Goodness no.
However, I would like to see this movie. I quite enjoyed Battle of the Gods, and while Resurrection F looks like it wants to be a much more serious movie, which I think would be to its own detriment, the last movie was good enough that I certainly wouldn't mind seeing more.
Colton, how far would you have to drive to potentially see this in a theater?
Well, I mean, when Battle of Gods came out, over in my area, when me and my friends wanted to see it, we didn't have to drive too far, definitely less than an hour, because the problem was, we had theaters who were playing the movie, but I'm sure I talked about this on an earlier A3K podcast, but the problem with Battle of Gods over here, at least in my area, was that whatever theaters got a hold of this movie didn't run it for its full, I guess, not runtime, but because Battle of Gods, I think at the time ran for 4 or 5 days, and a lot of theaters over here only ran it for 2 days. So so basically we didn't get to see none of my friends or I got to see Battle of Gods because our theaters didn't think that this movie was going to make any money, so they didn't pick it up for the full 4 days, unfortunately. Which is why I don't think I'm going to be going out of my way to see Resurrection of F, because I feel like my theaters are going to be doing that again. And honestly, as much as I would love to see this in theaters, I think I'd rather just wait for the DVD like I did for Battle of Gods.
All right. Jack, how far would you have to drive?
How far would I have to drive?
Yeah.
There is a cheap-ass theater, maybe, I want to say 14 miles away, but it is worth it because it is cheap-ass. So, you know, definitely worth the extra expenditure on gas from an old-ass, what I now have renamed from 6 different names, this old black hearse, renamed it the Dio-mobile. It's definitely worth that poor mileage to go up there. But given that I am in a small town and 90% of the people who see me cosplay think it's something completely generic, from Unbreakable Machine Doll Ugu Kawaii Neko.
Love that show. It's a great show.
Really? Well, you would, because it's got that tiny little green-haired girl going, and the self is composing in the
That's right.
interdimensional. Yeah.
That Ghost in the Shell standalone complex wall scroll isn't a gimmick, kids. I am a pretentious bastard. Go ahead, Jack.
Makoto is disappointing you. Makoto is disappointed. I can feel her right now, because apparently from the chat I went full waifu earlier doing that BS, so yeah, I'm channeling her right now. I am a waifu medium. This is my new job now. That should be an anime.
All right. Well, Sean Russell, like me, does not live in a small town, and he says that he really only has about a 5-minute walk. So that's good, and I have maybe a 10, 15-minute drive to see Battle of the Gods, and I'll probably see it. They play it at the art house theaters here in the Detroit area, and admittedly, I'm again not ashamed to admit this. For about 2-3 years, I went through something of an art house theater phase, and I would only see independent movies, so I got to find all of the art house theaters here in the area, and that's usually where they play the anime. So when this does come out, I will probably be seeing it. Lily and I, we might do a thing. We might do a meetup for it, some kind of Nanashi A3K Detroit weeaboo thing. We might do something. And you know, we're gonna do our part to make sure Funimation still has enough money to occasionally get a few more series that aren't Dragon Ball, because, well, that's really all that matters. That if they still have Dragon Ball and that still makes them money, that means they'll still be able to get a couple of other things, right? That's pretty much how it goes.
I hear Yu Yu Hakusho also sort of still helps nowadays too.
You know, you want to talk about a show that could really do that could really do well with a refresh or sort of a Kai remake? Yu Yu Hakusho. I could see a remaster of Yu Yu Hakusho. Bradley?
I haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho, so no opinion.
Really? It's
honestly,
well, I'm lying. I saw the first 13 episodes, but was largely bored by it. So,
the shame.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I think that is one show that could definitely do well with an HD remaster or cutting a lot of the fat from the original series.
Well, see, it's funny because I felt like the pacing in the original anime was pretty nicely done. I felt like it went by pretty fast, especially with a lot of the tournament stuff.
I can't totally agree, because there were a lot of those tournaments where I kind of tuned out for like maybe a good 4 or 5 episodes at a time.
David, I'll say this: the pacing in Yu Yu Hakusho is so much better than in most shonen anime nowadays. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yes. Oh God, yes, of course. I mean, yeah.
Like, I think that's as good as it'll ever get, because I'm pretty sure Yu Yu Hakusho, at least the anime, was produced pretty close to near when the manga ended, so that's probably a factor as well.
That's always a factor. I mean, when that happens, when that doesn't happen, you get things like the Garlic Jr. saga.
Oh, don't remind me. But I'd rather see like a reanimated Yu Yu Hakusho, maybe done like by Madhouse. I mean, they already went through the trouble of reanimating Hunter x Hunter. They might as well do another Togashi thing.
I would have no issue with that, and especially if they were to cut it down to maybe like 60, 70 episodes. The same way they made Dragon Ball Z a pretty clean cut of episodes where they cut off a lot of the fat. I could absolutely see Yu Yu Hakusho getting something like that.
I'd like to point out real quick, Sean Russell, wonderful, wonderful man that he is, wants us to all destroy our livers, and in addition to the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure drinking game, every time that you are consuming of your libation of choice, and we mentioned the great anime of our times, you take yourself a hearty swig.
For Bradley and anyone else out there tuning in for the first time.
Absolutely.
For every mention of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on this podcast, you must take a drink.
Also, Sean Russell would like to amend this and add, okay, so also, when David mentions Gundam, when Colton mentions Gintama, when Jack mentions Professor Layton, and when Sean mentions Hunter x Hunter, Cody mentions JoJo, which means you're really all fucking dead, and I also add, I would also say, okay, if I mention any fighter whatsoever, or even games in general, and JoJo, so let's just kill everybody that is watching right now.
Personally, I like to think I'm actually pretty good about the Gintama talk on the A3K podcast. At least when I mean, other than when I plug Life Lessons, but still.
And I really haven't mentioned any mech shows in months. I gotta say, I really haven't. I've really toned down that a lot.
Well, you know what that means. You should have said that the thing to get the whole HD remix should have been Mobile Suit Gundam.
I don't think
probably. Actually, no. You know what?
Actually, that's already happening. That's already happening.
It is happening.
Yeah, isn't that essentially what Gundam Origins is?
Gundam the Origin. Yeah.
Gundam Origin. Okay. Speaking of, when I hear that title, you know what I think? I just imagine ukulele music with hand-drawn jungle effects in the back, and then you see this limbless man pelvic thrust while you collect these yellow balls of energy. Yeah, that's right. I made a Rayman Origins joke. Suck on that. This is these mechs just doing the pelvic thrust, and then you free fairies and in the middle of space with somehow there's a space jungle. It could be like Space Dandy with Rayman and Gundams. Oh my god. Can we please have that be the actual Gundam Origins? Because I would actually watch that. Yep, that's what happens when you let me...
Next story comes to us from Otaku USA. Something coming out just today from MomoCon in Atlanta. Guys, we've been saying for a while that Toonami is pretty much dead. Well, apparently the folks at Toonami and Adult Swim heard us. Because they got some stuff. And it's looking like people might be hyped for it. Because today at MomoCon in Atlanta, the Toonami crew did a panel, and they made some announcements. The first one is the return of the total immersion event, The Intruder, which, if you remember back in the day, there were certain things that were happening on the Toonami block to Tom and the Absolution, where it was invaded by something known as The Intruder. And I guess that's going to be coming back in October. There will be 20 to 25 minutes of brand new CGI content from Toonami on Adult Swim, and also there will be a comic. So for you hardcore, diehard Toonami fans that care about Tom and Sarah and the Clydes and the Absolution, that'll be stuff for you.
Crap.
We're not. We're trying to keep this positive, Jack. We're not talking about that show.
That's why I have to doom you all. I'm taking you down with me. You are not allowed to be positive. You thought it was Toonami, but it was me. Your worst nightmare. The worst luck.
We're trying to save the industry, Jack. We're trying to save it. trying to keep it alive.
It's already been saved.
Also, once Inuyasha the final act is done, it will be replaced by a show that apparently I'm the last guy in the world to find out about, but apparently it's amazing. Michiko and Hachin.
Yeah, baby.
Apparently this show is the height. This show is one to check out.
Yeah, apparently.
Colton, I guess you and I will be live tweeting this show in October when it premieres.
I guess so. I mean, I remember seeing a Funimation trailer for this. To me, it looked very, very Cowboy Bebop-ish, where it seems the show takes place in a very Western setting, which I can dig. So I'm very much looking forward to actually watching this for the first time.
I'm not usually one for the Westerns, but I'm going to give this a shot. Also, coming to Toonami is a show by the name of Akame ga Kill. Not to be confused with that show we're not gonna fucking talk about.
It's funny because I hear that the show is trash, but I hear it's still pretty entertaining. So I still want to check this out regardless. Other than that, I don't know anything about the plot for the show whatsoever.
Jack, Akame ga Kill. Are you familiar?
This sounds really familiar to something, especially the ga kill part.
We're not talking about that show, Jack.
All right. Well, here's okay.
I will get real Detroit real quick, Jack.
Oh shit. Okay.
Don't push
no.
me.
All right. Let me stop trolling for 1 minute and say that I've actually seen covers of the manga release for Akame ga Kill, and it doesn't look terrible, but it's not something I'd be interested in.
Oh boy, my ears.
There you go. Now I went absolutely full waifu. I am the waifu channeler. I swear to crap, that needs to be a show on Toonami Block. That'll save like this random American gaijin that just goes around and is like, and then all of a sudden, waifus. Just channeling waifus. It'll be like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, only funny.
That is not something I would admit out loud.
Brainstorming. Okay. Here is my pitch.
Squid, you're gonna die. He's gonna kill you. Also, Sean, you said the P and S word earlier. I'm warning you. David threatened Detroit on you guys' asses. I mean, he threatened me, but he's threatened you too.
Here is my pitch, going with Jack's idea. A young teenage boy in high school or whatever in Tokyo. He meets a girl, a brand new girl, first day at this school, because that's how every anime starts now. But the hook is, she is a spirit medium, and she has the ability to summon all the waifus. And it will be called Waifu Channel.
Waifu Channel. You know what? I think you're onto something. But she needs to have 5 different shades of color in her hair, and they all need to be extremely saturated. And she has to have 2 different color eyes, and they have to have like a gold ring around her pupil. And she needs to be wearing something that no one would ever wear in their entire life out on the street. And then he needs to have black hair, brown eyes, wear a typical school uniform, and just kind of be boring and not have any personality. So then you can put your own personality on him. But then all of a sudden it's great.
I think we've got at least 26 episodes right there. I want to ask Bradley. These 2 new shows coming from Toonami. One, Michiko and Hachin. I've been hearing a lot of hype for this one. Are you familiar with this one?
Yes, I've seen it. It's a really good show.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
All right.
It's very good.
It's a series that feels like this should have been on Toonami about 5 or 6 years ago, but I'm glad they're finally getting around to releasing it on television like this. And I think they also just released a new box set for the TV series that's at a lower price point as well. So it was always a really good fit for the Toonami crowd and the Toonami kind of anime, right? It's this big, jazzy, sassy, sexy series with a lot of action and heavy Western influences, and that would normally do really well on Toonami. Would have done really well on it when it aired about 5 or 6 years ago at this point. The series is fairly old, but I'm glad they're getting around to it now.
I will admit, I do like Sassy. I do. Akame ga Kill. Have you heard of this one, Bradley?
I've heard of it, and I haven't heard a good thing about it from people I trust and respect.
Sometimes that happens, and then I end up weeping into my pillow at 3 in the morning.
Oh, you have no room to talk, young lady. Right now, Lily and I, for the next episode of Nanashi, are watching a show of your recommendation. How
That's
dare
true.
you?
That's true. That's very true.
How dare you?
That's very true. However, apparently, I've become full troll, so I don't care, but I'm also very excited.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Akame ga Kill is just entertainingly bad. That's what I'm really hoping from this. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it.
At least it won't be panty and stocking. That's all I'm going to tell myself.
It's not that bad.
I'm not sure. Just for those who are maybe curious, apparently Michiko and Hachin is produced by Manglobe, who I believe produced Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, baby. There you go.
That actually is a pretty good pedigree.
That was completely just had to point that out.
That's a good
I'm not
pedigree.
sure I have a very good read on this podcast taste so far, but did anybody like Lupin the Third, the woman named Fujiko Mine?
I don't know Lupin.
I haven't seen a lot of Lupin, so I don't have any room to.
I have seen some of that particular series, and I did not hate it. I just never got back around to watching it.
So the woman who directed that also directed Machiko and Hachin. In fact, that was her first big series, Seo Yamamoto. She's one of the best directors, I think, working in television right now, and it's well worth checking out.
Oh, so. I agree on the Lupin Fujiko Mine series. That one was enjoyable. It was. But you know what else is enjoyable? Beyblade. Am I right, guys?
Okay, you know what? Literally, graduation week. You know what every graduate did?
Oh, Jesus.
They got out these giant ultimate frisbees. They set them down on the floor, and then they whipped out their Beyblades. And they played for a straight-up hour with a bracket and everything, doing a Beyblade tournament. And they brought all their parts, and they just let it rip. And a few people were wearing tracksuits with the popped collar. It was real.
Yes.
That does sound pretty amazing.
That's outstanding. So you know that when this news breaks out, that they are going to be all up in this. Because it would appear as though Paramount Pictures has acquired the license to a Beyblade live-action feature. They've done it with Transformers and G.I. Joe. They're going to try it again with Beyblade. And it will be produced by Mary Parent and her Disruption Entertainment banner. Guys, with the success, I guess, of G.I. Joe and Transformers, Bradley, would you be down for seeing a Beyblade live-action movie?
See, you can't even take yourself seriously when you ask that question, David.
But that's the fun of it.
Transformers does make a lot of money, right?
Oh, it makes a lot of money.
I would believe so.
It does. It does.
So, sometimes people ask me, Bradley, how do you always find the time to watch so many anime series? I'll go on ahead and let you in on the secret. I never really spend time watching movies. So I have no strong opinion about Beyblade the movie because I'm never going to see it. I can't be asked to care.
Oh, a curious Scott in the chat room.
So that means the upcoming segment is going to be a weak point of mine.
We have one. We have one. A Curious Scott in the chat room says that we just made his year with this news.
Scotty's been great in the chat this week. He's my favorite. The rest of you.
And I don't have Packer Girl 81 in the chat room anymore, so I don't know where. So yeah, right now, A Curious Scott, he's killing it.
Waifu Channel smiles on you. Please understand.
He's kicking the jams. And he also says, from a response from Mr. Russell, a live-action Beyblade movie is, quote, this is A Curious Scott in the chat room, everybody, quote, better than porn.
I'm not so sure about that.
Scott, can I talk to you over for the second? I just smiled upon you. Why would you say this? It's porn.
Depends on the porn, though, right?
I'm feeling maybe
sure,
Scotty watches weird porn just to laugh at it.
You know,
Anybody who tells you they watch porn just to laugh at it is lying. Just
is laugh-fapping.
Words of
Let's be
wisdom.
real. Hey,
They're also the people who read Playboy for the articles.
Actually, I just want to say that just a couple of weeks ago, I was reading a very interesting. No, I'm not. I've actually never read Playboy because I
actually do read Playboy for the articles and the pictures.
I've never read Playboy because I have high-speed internet. So
no, you've never read Playboy because you're under 30.
Also true. Well, I am 30, but. Yeah, sure. But I've also had high-speed internet for a very long time, so it's been obsolete for quite a while.
There's going to reach a point where hipsters are going to start getting into retro vintage porn that they have to hold it right to truly appreciate it, so you can feel the weight of it in your hands.
Well, they're already growing.
It just isn't the same.
The hipsters are already growing the mustaches, so.
So sad. They're ruining mustache. I mean,
beards are so mainstream at this point. Like, I feel like the hipster thing to do is just go clean shaven.
That's kind of what I'm doing these days.
I would like to shout out to Gerard, the completionist of Normal Boots. Your beard was always magnificent, always frosty, never salty. He's not watching. Why would I say that?
Also, another shout out to Mr. Russell, who is truly a better man than all of us, who is in fact saying he did read an article in Playboy once, so he can say that he does read Playboy for the articles. He's also older than me.
And doesn't he have a kick-ass beard?
Sean Russell does have a kick-ass beard. Sean Russell's beard is pretty outstanding. Everyone
he's
out
got
there,
that Tim Howard look, doesn't he? Bald on the top, beard below, right?
He is kind of rocking the Tim Howard look, yes. So everyone out there, give a shout out to Mr. Russell at Sean A. Russell on Twitter and compliment him on his outstanding beard. Go ahead and do that when you get a chance. And let's just jump in. Let's throw this idea around the horn. It's pitch time again. I don't know. Maybe it's because the movie Entourage is coming out, so I'm just in a mood for movie pitches. Let's just pitch all the things. So I'm just going to throw this one around. We're going to start with Colton. You have a terrible anime and the worst Hollywood director you can think of, and I want to see if we can actually get the chat room and the A3K fans out there to see if we can get a campaign to get this going. Colton, if you had a terrible anime, and a director, what would it be?
Just like Bradley said earlier, I also don't watch a lot of movies either, so I don't know that many directors I could pick from besides maybe an obvious one. But I'm not sure if I've said it on the A3K podcast before, but as much as I like to, say, oh, I don't like Evangelion, it's overrated or whatever, I would still prefer that over a little show only known as Elfenlied. I cannot stand that show. I fucking hate it so much. I
Proud of you.
just I hate that show so much.
I am proud of you. You are not a pedophile. This is confirmed. Colden confirmed, not pedophile.
Strong choice. Strong choice.
So brave to not be a
Mostly
pedophile.
like the insults my intelligence.
Who would be your director for this,
Jeez.
Colton?
Michael Bay. I want to see Michael Bay
yes.
direct an even. Yes.
Yes.
I feel like there are explosions already in that show. I forget. I haven't seen it in a while.
Now, Jack, we've got the Google Doc open for you, and
Yes.
I'm seeing your suggestion.
Yes.
So I know I said that I didn't want you to mention this, but now feel free. What is your movie pitch?
Okay, clearly the awful anime is just. I can't. I was about to throw up as soon as I said the Okay, actually, the truth is, I picked Kill la Kill, directed by. Okay, I'm gonna lose a little bit of nerd cred for this. I don't actually know how to pronounce this guy's name, but please help me out. I am a
Uwe-
defenseless waifu.
I believe the pronunciation for his name is Uwe Boll.
Thank you.
So that would be Kill la Kill, directed by Uwe Boll, which
Because
sounds wonderful.
I'm pretty sure that I've won, so y'all can go home now. But let me just say, if he did something awful with something great like Mortal Kombat, imagine what he would do with the worst thing that we've seen in years. Imagine what he would do. Imagine the women he would cast. Imagine the costumes. How flimsy, how terrible, how imprecise, and not even imprecise, how painful looking. How painful looking.
Then why don't we just give it to a porn company and remove all the pretense? Just have like Brazzers.
So Uwe Boll
do Kill la Kill.
Uwe Boll is a German director for what it's worth, and he was making his movies largely through a tax loophole that he was exploiting so that his movies would fail and he would make money that way. It was essentially, if you've ever seen The Producers, he was the real-life version of The Producers. I'm not entirely sure what Jack is talking about when she says Kill la Kill is a bad anime. I feel like she's breaking the rules here by naming one really fantastic cartoon.
Oh no.
I've got a suggestion that I think perfectly fits the director that I have in mind here. Has anybody here seen Air?
Okay.
That sounds familiar.
I'll let you say
Air-
Kill la Kill is good because you said that Air is bad. So you're okay. You're in the clear.
I actually like Air. I don't think it's a terribly good cartoon, but I quite like Air. Air is.
See, I like Air too. I breathe it every day.
I can distinguish between I like this and this is good, or I like this and this is bad. But Air has, midway through, as I'm sure Jack is familiar with, this twist where the main character turns into a bird. This is not explained. It just happens, and the rest of the show is narrated kind of from his point of view as he watches what happens to the rest of the characters while he's a bird. The only director who could pull off that with the pistache clearly required is the same man who brought us such wonderful fare as The Happening and Signs. I think M. Night Shyamalan should direct an Air TV adaptation.
What?
Well done, Bradley Meek.
No.
Well done, sir. Outstanding choice. I like that one a lot. I guess it's my turn, and
David, teach us all, senpai.
I'm gonna try and take things in a little bit of a weird direction here, because the director that I have in mind is the legendary David Cronenberg, the man behind Videodrome and a personal favorite of mine, Existence. And the anime that I have in mind is Serial Experiments Lane. Because here we have a very slow pace.
Again, I thought the rules said bad anime.
David's allowed.
Yeah,
David
you're right.
is allowed
Bad
because
anime.
he
Bad
is
anime.
him.
Bad anime. Bad anime. Well, I'm going to stick with David Cronenberg, and a bad one. See, I didn't put one in the doc, so now I have to think about a show that I really did not like and I genuinely think is awful. And the one that immediately comes to mind, and please, everyone, by all means, at Just Call Me DJM on Twitter, send me your hate. I look forward to your letters. I would say that I would have David Cronenberg direct Fooly Cooly. That's right. I've said it
It's bad.
repeatedly. I don't like Fooly Cooly, and I'll stand by it.
Is named after the shitty onomatopoeia that doesn't happen because it's not an actual onomatopoeia because no breasts make the sound Fooly Cooly when you squeeze them. Therefore, your anime sucks.
But wait, can we at least agree that the soundtrack was pretty dope?
It was passable.
Man, y'all are full of it.
There, we're all cleansed from the music.
It was not. It was fine. It was acceptable. It was okay for what it was.
Okay, fair enough.
It was superfluous, but go on.
Just jumping into, let's just ask, what have you guys been dotting? Bradley, what have you been watching, playing, anything at all?
So, this doesn't have to be anime, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, I have been getting into comic books recently, which is a very dangerous hobby to get into. It can burn you, and I know a lot of comic book fans who are very bitter individuals because of comic books. So this seems like a bad proposition to try and jump headlong into Marvel's new big summer event, which is Secret Wars.
Oh boy.
And I have been surprised by how much I am enjoying Secret Wars so far, and how largely accessible it has been so far. The idea behind Secret Wars basically is that most of y'all are familiar with the fact that Marvel Comics takes place in not just one Marvel universe, there are multiple alternate universes, right? So there's Spider-Man, and then there's Ultimate Spider-Man, which is in the Ultimate Universe, and so on. In Secret Wars, all of those universes are destroyed, and there is only one world left. They call it Battle World. Battle World is essentially watched over by the god Doom. Yes, that is Victor Von Doom. And he is the god king of Battle World, which has a bunch of countries that are basically their own self-contained Marvel universe that's inspired by past Marvel great stories. So, there is a lot going on here, but it's surprisingly accessible because there's not all that backstory built in anymore. It's just here's this cool concept that we have. For instance, Planet Hulk is about a country where everybody are Hulks. And Gladiator Captain America, who's basically like Captain America, but if he was a Roman gladiator, and his companion, who is a dinosaur in this case, have to go and find Bucky Barnes, who is in Planet Hulk somewhere. It's a pretty fun take on the series. It's been a surprisingly accessible and really enjoyable series. Not just the main storyline, but also a lot of these standalone spin-offs that they have right now. And I recommend picking up a couple series, both like the main Secret Wars storyline, even though you're going to have Wikipedia handy if you're not familiar with Marvel Universe. It's just a really well put together, very, very great art from a new artist of all things on this huge crossover event that they're doing. They're placing trust in this new artist, and you can kind of see why, especially in the second issue, which has just some fantastic fight drawing. I also recommend picking up A-Force, which stands alone by itself. It's essentially in this country is watched over by a bunch of superheroes. They're all women, and it's a really compelling, well-written series so far from the woman who wrote Ms. Marvel, which is another excellent ongoing series that I recommend people check out. I also recommend Planet Hulk, and if you're like me and you really liked X-Men in 1992-93 when the television series was on television, this might actually be, I just realized, since at least one of my co-hosts here has just graduated from high school, right? I just realized that that reference might be too old for some of you, which blows my mind.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
depressing.
man.
That's depressing, isn't it?
Jack, have you ever seen the X-Men series from the early 90s?
Evolution?
Evolution. Evolution. She said evolution. She said X-Men Evolution.
Yes, you were proving my point.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I liked Evolution.
Yeah, Evolution was good.
I liked
X-Men
Evolution.
So
animated.
if I didn't see a bad X-Men thing, then I'm glad, because I'm actually a really huge X-Men fan. That's like the main thing, besides maybe like classic Deadpool that I really, and Spider-Man that I really subscribe to in Marvel. Otherwise, I'm straight DC, just like, well, except Superman. But, you know, like, the exceptions to the rule. Like, you know, if I didn't see anything bad X-Men, then I'm good.
So you
luckily
never
enough for
actually saw the original X-Men animated series?
Mm-mm.
That was on Fox Kids?
Mm-mm.
Ah, okay.
I wasn't much of a Fox Kids kind of a person. I was more of a WB kind, with the DC and the Animaniacs and the Batman.
Me too. Me
And
too.
the Mark Hamill and the Revving Up Your Harley. That's suddenly this voice became.
Vroom, vroom.
So, for what it's worth, X-Men has come off really well in the Secret Wars standalone titles that I've read so far. X-Men 92, which takes place in essentially the universe of the animated TV series with some twist, is really, really good. That's right now a digital-only comic, but they'll be releasing a physical version in the near future. But you can pick that up on Comixology right now. And Inferno #1 was really good, and Old Man Logan was superlative.
Oh,
Some
I remember Old Logan.
fantastic art. Yeah, this is basically, I never thought of Wolverine as basically a gritty cowboy reboot, but that's what this is in this grimy Western-like world where nobody is free from, where nobody is really innocent and everybody has made very bad choices that they regret, including our hero most of all.
Well,
so that's
Brett,
pretty awesome. So yeah, Secret Wars, surprisingly, I actually recommend it. I'm not the only one who is enjoying Secret Wars. It's been getting like really well-received critical reception so far.
well, Bradley, that actually really does sound interesting, speaking as someone who is also leaning more towards the DC side of things. And I just want to say, I really hope that in 6 months, it does not take everything that you've talked about and completely thrown it out of the window for you. I hope that in that amount of time, the story is still making sense and continuing on as you would hope.
Obviously, I hope so too. I am slightly optimistic that this is going to work out well. Right. I'm a little more optimistic that this is going to work out well, both in the sense of the Secret Wars main storyline, which Jonathan Hickman has kind of been building to and planning for years. So I hope that this is all going to come across as very well thought out and fun. And I get the sense that a lot of the talent on this is just really enjoying doing what they're doing right now and going back to some of the greats that they read when they were kids and being able to put their own twist on it.
Awesome.
So I recommend going to your local comic book shop and spending too much money on comic books.
Which is never a bad thing. Jack,
No.
Yes.
what have you been dotting, Jay Quellen?
Okay, so Fanime happened last weekend, and when I got home on Tuesday, I was really, really tired for reasons that I will not disclose, because this is a show that kids watch. Not really,
Again,
but
what happens at an anime convention stays at an anime convention, if you're lucky.
I'm just going to say I didn't experience a lot of misfortune. So, Fanime happened, and I was so tired because they had a whole marathon of Stardust Crusaders, which I adored, but, you know, I stayed up for the whole dang thing, and the next thing I know, they're showing some One Piece, so I had to stay up a little later, and then the next thing I know, I'm somewhere in a dark place, and I'm smelling opium, and you know what? I just blacked out, and then I get back home, it's Tuesday, and I'm just sleeping. And in the middle of sleeping, and I'm waking up periodically, and I experience for a couple hours, I marathoned Boba Bobo Boba Bo. A really great parody show, and dipped a little back into Trigun because one of my friends who went to the convention cosplayed Millie Thompson. He's a dude, the one who cosplayed him. He's wonderful, beautiful, and brave, and I really appreciate the fact that he shaved a lot for that. I didn't appreciate that he had to do it in the one bathtub that we all shared, but we let things slide because, decent cosplay is decent cosplay.
It's an anime convention. These things happen.
We played Clue with corresponding Part 1 characters from JoJo, and so Colonel Mustard, who was my piece, became Dio, and Dio didn't do it, by the way. But I did at one point, just to get a little guess, trying to figure out, how the game works. I shouted, "It was me, Dio!" in the hallway with the poison. Wait, poison's not a piece. Damn it, I lost. So that happened, and then so after the OD on Bobobo, I went back on to Crunchyroll, which I downloaded on my PlayStation Vita, the greatest gaming console, and you're all peons to not think otherwise.
You're part of the Council of 12, aren't you?
I certainly am, and the Council of 12 does not appreciate the fact that you refer to us as the Council of 12, even though we are clearly just 12 people. So, and then I watched a little bit of, started back from the beginning for JoJo, and I tweeted a little bit about that, and maybe I'll tweet a little bit more, because I'm going to move on to Part 2 pretty soon, and I'm very happy that it exists. And so during that binge, I also found time to carve through and do comic things. What's that? You might have noticed there's not a comic for A3K really recently for a couple of weeks. That's because it's on a short hiatus because I'm doing personal stuff, but more about that on the plug.
Colton, sir, what have you been dotting?
Not much, unfortunately. I mean, I have been watching stuff. I'm finally doing, stuff that isn't all just podcast related. I've been playing a lot of One Piece Pirate Warriors 2. I don't usually play a lot of Dynasty Warriors games or video games really in general, but it's pretty fun. I like that I can actually use more than one character during the story mode. That's very fun. I haven't been watching a lot other than a lot of Hunter x Hunter. I have been, and pardon my language, I have been very balls deep into Hunter x Hunter for probably the past 2 weeks. Gonna try to finish that up this week. And so far, I enjoy it, but I'm not sure if I can call myself a fan like most people are. But it's a different kind of shonen. It does a lot different compared to other shonen series I've watched, which is very welcome. I'm all about shonen that aren't just about beating the shit out of other guys. I like there to be a few layers in my shonen, but that's not to say I don't enjoy things such as like Dragon Ball Z, what have you. So, but honestly, David, if you're, because I know you like the kind of shonen where you just want to see guys beat the shit out of each other. Hunter x Hunter may not be the kind of show for you. There's a lot of strategy involved, a lot of monologuing too, but that's kind of the point.
So how far into it are you? Like, what story
I will
arc
say
are you
that
on?
that's Sean's show, Colton. That's his show. So you might want to do maybe an episode of the bonus round or something with Sean on Hunter x Hunter. Sorry, Brad.
Sean's show is either Parasite or My Love Story, and I'm leaning towards My Love Story with the way he's going on about it now.
Oh, My Love Story is really great. It is really funny. But to answer your question, Bradley, I'm actually about, last time I checked, I think I was like 6 or 4 episodes away from finishing Chimera Ants, so I'm almost done.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's an intense set of episodes.
It really is. Personally, I think the arc's a little long, but I mean it's still enjoyable though, and I understand that's kind of the point.
It's a very, very, very different kind of story too.
Exactly, yeah. But
It is
that's
not what you'd expect going into Hunter x Hunter
mhm,
after the much more straightforward opening tournament arc with a
exactly,
lot of
yeah.
fighty and punchy.
Mhm.
This is a story arc with a lot of cryy. It pulls off kind of emotional resonance in a way that I've rarely seen outside of One Piece for that kind
Mhm.
of show. So yeah, Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorites from the last few years, and the Ant arc is a key part of why.
Exactly. Yeah, I had been looking forward to watching this arc from how hype I've seen people go on about it, and it's delivered. I've really enjoyed it. But that's really about it for me.
Awesome. Guys, while I've been keeping up with Heroic Legend of Arslan, which is still the only show this season that has managed to hold my interest, there was something that came out a couple of days ago. It all started with a movie trailer last year for a movie that was penned by Swedish filmmaker David Sandberg. And just a couple of days ago, it made its world premiere. I am talking, of course, about Kung Fury. Now, for those that are not familiar with Kung Fury, get familiar. David Sandberg wrote, directed, and starred in this movie as the titular character, a Miami cop who has to travel back in time to kill the worst criminal in history, Adolf Hitler, also known as Kung Führer, because his kung fu is so deadly. However, Kung Fury ends up in the Viking Age, and he has to find his way back to Nazi Germany to kill Kung Führer. This is an incredible 30-minute short film. It got screened at Cannes Film Festival in France last week. It is going to get a full feature-length release after the $630,000 Kickstarter campaign was a massive success. It had its world premiere on the El Rey network because this piece, Kung Fury, is everything that you imagine about crazy 80s action cop movies turned all the way up to 14. If you played Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, you've already seen Kung Fury, so I don't need to talk to you. But for everybody else, Kung Fury is a movie that you need to see. It is out on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and put in Kung Fury. It is an absolutely fantastic 30 minutes of stupid martial arts self-aware insanity, and it is wonderful. So, Kung Fury, I implore you, if you're not into mech shows like I am, if you're not into overly pretentious sci-fi anime like I am, if nothing else, look for Kung Fury. Go onto YouTube and look for Kung Fury, because it is absolutely outstanding. And when it does get its full feature release, that is a movie that I'm going to go to my art house theaters to support, because it is phenomenal. Kung Fury. That is what I have been dotting. Please, please go to YouTube and check out Kung Fury. You will not be disappointed. And I want to thank all you guys for joining us this week. Bradley Meek, especially you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Just tell everyone out there what you've got going on.
So I have a podcast that reviews new anime that's streaming and is finished fairly recently. New episodes released include, by the time this is released, presumably tomorrow or later than that, the newest episode about Barakuman with Inc. of Anagamers should be out. I also have reviews out of Gundam Build Fighters Try with Michael of The Cart Driver, and a review of Your Lie in April with Inc. again from about a month ago. Those are all really good episodes, so go on ahead and check them out on iTunes, subscribe, leave a review, etc. We're also on Stitcher, and you can find my website at thosedamncartoons.com, which has the archive to all of my past episodes.
And that is thosedamncartoons.com. I also give the Anime Now podcast a very big recommendation. I really like what you guys are doing. I really, really enjoy your show, Bradley. And again, thank you for coming on. Colton.
Thank you for the kind words.
Colton, you are the host of the Manga Corner here on the A3K Network, but you've got so much going on. And Colton, I cannot thank you enough for coming on this week. Just tell everyone else all of the other great things you've got going on.
I'm trying to whittle it down so I don't keep people on here for another 10 minutes. By the way, I am really sorry for that stupid air joke I made. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say that, especially when Bradley was saying stuff. I didn't mean to interrupt earlier. I should go commit Sudoku after this. But, yeah, like David said, I am the co-host of the Manga Corner here on Anime 3000. We just released an episode, I think, last week about Yamada and the Seven Witches. For those of you who are interested in that, you can hear mine and JD's thoughts about that series on the newest episode over at anime3000.com. And you can also find my podcast if you are a fan of Gintama and you want to listen to me talk for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours about Gintama, like I probably already don't do on Twitter. You can go listen to Life Lessons, the Gintama manga cast, at gintalifelessons.wordpress.com. And I guess the only other thing I'd like to plug real quick is I also do a Toriko podcast with a couple of friends of mine called the Heavenly Kings podcast. A lot of big stuff happening in Toriko this time around. So we just released a new episode, I think, just a couple of days ago, and you should go listen to that if you're caught up over at heavenlykings.wordpress.com. And I think that's about it for me.
Colton, once again, thank you so much. Jack D.
Colton. Yes, sir, master.
What have you got going on?
What have I got going on? Hey guys, it's time for me to plug the comic again. Maybe I should make that a drinking game so you can all die. Except it's not, it hasn't been posted yet, but I have artwork that I am actually leaking of character designs and little doodles of the characters that I do because they're just so fun and easy to draw. I just love doing that. And I will be making a separate Tumblr for the comic pages, and those will be coming up real freaking soon. If you like classic video games, if you like that age-old story of, hey, capture the princess, go rescue the princess, and you want to know where those people go, where they actually capture the princesses, you want to know who does that, you want to know why they do it, and all the rich-ass motherfuckers that take advantage of them, and why they just want to get the hell out and break the system, then you can check that out. But in the meantime, you can go to Mechanical Symphonies at tumblr.com, like the music that machines make. And you can also commission me for $5 or more if you want to go on Tumblr and do it, and I'll do some really fancy shit. But if you just want to spend $5, then you can go to Fiverr, that's Fiverr with 2 R's, and look up Jack D. Tyler D. I'm also Jack D. Tyler D. on Twitter, where you can find all my stupid things that I say about being angry and being happy and being Dio. And finally, I am Let's Playing Blind, Professor Layton, and the Unwound Future, and doing a brilliant job of solving every puzzle first try, for serious, guys. That's what's happening, for real. And I'm also doing speed draws tonight. I'm actually going to be drawing my own characters because I can't figure out how to work the updated iTunes that my brother fixed for me, so I'll just be talking over it instead of doing things. But next week we'll be doing some JoJo fan art that will actually last for many weeks, because I'm going to be drawing every JoJo and every significant character that I want to draw from every part until I see fit to stop doing that. So you can find all these beautiful things and past ones that I've done at youtube.com/user/ are you ready for this? Are y'all sitting down? Are you ready for the best username ever?
I am sitting down.
Yoshi Star Spirit. That's like the Yoshi from the Super Mario Brothers. But he's a star spirit, like Paper Mario 64. Thank you very much, everybody, and I appreciate you letting me just jabber about the good things that I do. Thank you. And thank you for coming on, our beautiful guests.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of the A3K podcast. My name is David Majors, and unlike a lot of people on the internet, I don't have an ego. I very openly and unironically hate myself and everything that I do. However, I don't hate the people that I work with on various podcasts, like the Nanashi Anime Podcast with my good friend Lily Inverse, where we just released a brand new episode just a couple of days ago where we talk about Dead Man Wonderland. That is right here on the A3K network over at anime3000.com. It's in your iTunes. It's in your Stitcher Radio. It's already there. It's already in your podcast feed. Just look for Nanashi Dead Man Wonderland. Almost as brutal as Florida Death Metal, because it was a pretty brutal and bloody show. But we reviewed it. We talked about it, my friend Lily and I. And that's the thing that we just did at the Nanashi Anime Podcast. Also, I did a guest spot. I did a guest spot with the folks at the Southgate Media Group on their anime podcast, Radio Ramen. And they brought me on to talk about that show that I have of my wall scroll right there, Ghost in the Shell. And we focused on the new TV series Alternative Architecture, which is based on the Arise OVA. So again, shout out to Radio Ramen, and thanks for having me on. And also, another thing that I did with someone else that I will plug, even though I hate myself, my good friend Brandon Cooper and I, we did a couple of episodes of Shooting the Shit with Two Nerdy Black Guys, the Chat Realm award-winning Shooting the Shit with Two Nerdy Black Guys. We were live at ASIN, and we did a podcast together. Yes, an actual live podcast in the meat space. They actually do happen with multiple microphones and production value and all that stuff. And we did a second episode where we talked about Eurovision, and it was really, really fun. And we also talked about what to do about trolls. So, yes, that is Brandon Cooper, noted host of the Drunk Kids Gaming game show over at drunkkidsgaming.com. And our show is called Shooting the Shit with Two Nerdy Black Guys. And if you're interested in any of those things that I do, you can go to my website at deltajulietmike.com. Thank you for listening to the A3K podcast. We are at anime3000.com. I want to thank Colton, Jack, and Bradley Meek for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
You're a kid now. You're a squid now.
That is a show. All right.
Cool.
I'd like to take this time now, because we always do this, and apologize profusely to Brandon. While we have our differences, I think that was one of our nicest shows that we've had.
I completely
recently.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly acceptable.
Bradley, once again, thank you so much.
No problem. I'm going to go on ahead and sign off here. I actually am normally in bed by now, and I still have some work to do tomorrow.
All right,
so
thanks
I'm going to
again.
head out.
Have a good
All right,
night.
yep. Talk to y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey, Jack.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, were you squeeing over Toriko? I wasn't sure what you were squeeing about.
I was squeeing over Toriko because I've seen some clips, and I am very excited to dive butt crack deep into that business.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
I was squeeing.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.